Hi guys, my name is Kirsty and welcome back to Upside Down Books. Today we're going to be doing my wrap up for February.
Non più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte giorno di
So February was an interesting month because it started off really hot and strong and then I really hit a wall and I think I've just realized that I've actually fallen into a reading slump. So I'm very curious how March is going to go because I am currently trying to work out what to read in order to get me out of the slump, which means I probably need to deviate from my TBR in order to pick a nice sprightly book. But anyway, that is more or less irrelevant for today's video, but I feel like most of my reading was done in the first 2 weeks of February and I really thought I was going to just smash it out of the park and I thought I was going to finish my TBR and I did well, but I didn't get to 2 books. So I did 3 books on my TBR and then 2 I didn't get to. So the 2 books I didn't get to from what I pulled out was The Bronze Horseman, which is a really big book and I obviously by the time I started slumping was just too much to tackle, and the other book was The Map of Salt and Stars, which was a bit of a bummer because I really wanted to get onto that one as well. But let's start with what I did read. I did not finish any audiobooks in March. I would say I've actually been struggling a little bit with Magician by Raymond Feist. I have finished book 1. It's an omnibus, so it's book 1 and book 2 is how it's now published. And I finished book 1 and I'm on to book 2, and book 1 I just got a bit lost and so it seems to have picked up and got a little bit better as we've progressed, but I honestly think that might have contributed to my slump. But let's have a look at what I did finish. So the first book I finished, I don't have a copy of it on me, and that is The Moroccan Daughter by Deborah Rodriguez. I have a full review up of this on my blog. In fact, I've got full reviews up for all of these books. I have done an amazing job of doing some catching up and review writing. So if you want full thoughts on these, then make sure you head over to ozbooksnow.com to have a read of what I thought in full. This is the latest book by Deborah Rodriguez, who is an amazing author, and she often writes about really unique settings in the world for the Western audience, and she has gone and lived and worked in a lot of these places herself. Probably her most famous book, which has just had its 10th anniversary, is The Little Coffee Shop of Kabul, but this one is set in Morocco and it follows a Moroccan woman who has been living in New York and is married and is coming back to celebrate her sister's wedding in Morocco and also to let her family know that she is married because they don't know yet. It is a wonderful clash of cultures and expectations of family, and it's really, really beautiful. I would definitely recommend it. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars and I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. The next book I read was The Damned by Renee Ardier. I was super excited to read this one, and I have to say it let me down a little bit. I rated this one a scathing 3 out of 5 stars according to my own relatively soft rating scale, and I really enjoyed the reading experience. Like, if I was judging this book in and of itself and not comparing it to The Beautiful, I might have rated it 4 stars. It had a lot of world building going on, but it definitely read as a filler book. Again, my full review is on my blog if you really want to go into detail about this. I will definitely be continuing the series. I'm really excited for where it's going, but I just found that the book had a little bit of a lack in clarity regarding its focus of plotline. It was just a little bit stretched and a little bit slow and a little bit inconsistent with its pacing, just a bit all over the place, but I still really enjoyed the characters and I did enjoy the reading experience, but I loved The Beautiful and this fell short of where my expectations were sitting going into it. The next book I read was Changeling by Philippa Gregory. I've been trying really hard to get into some Philippa Gregory books and I've got her book Tidelands on my TBR to read, but I got around to this one sooner. It is a YA historical fantasy. It's set in like medieval times, 1300s, and it follows a princess who, once her father dies, her elder brother basically kicks her out. There is some thunderstorming happening outside. If you can hear that rumbling, that's what it is. Her brother kicks her out of the palace and she goes to live in an abbey, and there is all sorts of stuff going on. There's like mentions of werewolves, there's witches, there's like lots of creepy things happening, and the other main character is an inquisitor and he's been sent by the Pope to work out what is going on. But it's just got a really good array of characters and it's such a fun story. It's not very long either, so I really enjoyed reading it. And I can't wait to continue the series. I will definitely be continuing it because I loved it so much. The next book I read was one I was really excited for, and that is Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levinsteller. This was as good as book 1. It was phenomenal. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars and I loved it. This I was so nervous would not live up to Daughter of the Pirate King, which is the first book, and it has some amazing strong female leads in it. We've got an entire crew of female pirates, which is just phenomenal, and there's a really good romance in it as well. I thought Raiden's character took some interesting turns and twists in this story. I wasn't always very impressed with him, but he did manage to redeem himself on occasion, which was good, and I just thought on the whole the story progressed really nicely. It wasn't fishing for words or fishing for a story. It totally made sense for this to be a duology, and I thought it was a very satisfying read and a very satisfying conclusion to the series itself. 10 out of 10, would recommend reading this if you have not already. The next book I read was a review copy, and that was The Island by C.L. Taylor. So thank you very much to Harlequin Australia for sending me a copy of this. This was a really easy read and it was really quite good. It has a bit of a cliche plotline with a bunch of teenagers stranded on this island off Thailand, and basically one by one their worst nightmares start to come true. This had a really interesting twist at the end, which made me want to take back some of my comments about slandering this as an unoriginal plotline, because it was quite clever how the author decided to tie this up at the end. That was very different to anything I've read before, but I am a sucker for these plotlines, and I really, really enjoyed the suspense and the intrigue of trying to work out what's going to happen next. Is everyone going to get off the island alive? And just where is the story going? It was really fun, and it was interesting to learn more about the characters chapter by chapter as things progress. So if you are looking for a fun little mystery read, this is definitely one to pick up. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. And that brings me to my final read of February, and that was Defending the Galaxy by Maria V. Snyder. I loved this. I actually enjoyed this more than I was anticipating. This was the last book I read with a lot of steam, and then I hit a wall. So it wasn't this book's fault. I was quite nervous going into it because it is quite a chunky book, but this is the third and final book in the Sentinels of the Galaxy series. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars, and I thought it really rounded things off well. This is quite a young series. The main character is quite an immature narration and frequently breaks the fourth wall, which does sometimes come across a little bit unsettling, and I didn't love it, but I was able to sort of let it go, and it happened less in this book than it did in the middle book. Book number 2 is definitely suffering the worst for it, but things matured up ever so slightly in this one, and I really, really liked the cast of characters in here. My favourites are probably Radcliffe and Bo. If you've read it, you'll know who I'm talking about. Ara, I don't know how to say her name. It's called Lyra in the first one, is my least favourite character, unfortunately. Not great being the narrator, but I think this is a really unique YA fantasy, and it's really interesting because it is all about space travel and time travel, effectively, and going and excavating different archaeological sites on different planets and finding the terracotta warriors that we learn about in book 1. So this is a really good series. If you're looking for a nice and easy science fiction read, this is definitely one to pick up. So these were all the books that I got around to reading in February. I was quite pleased with the books I read. I was definitely really thrilled with how quickly the pace started off at the very beginning, but I was a little bit bummed to hit a wall at the very end there. I'm in the middle of about 4 or 5 books. I just could not bring myself to finish anything or get through things, which is a bit of a shame, but I think I had a really good reading month. These were all pretty solid rating reads for me. So let me know in the comments down below if you have read any of these or if you're planning to, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.